Alright, so this is a overview video of what exactly Ableton Live 9 can do. We are currently using the Ableton Live 9 standard. It's kind of the middle of the road of the Ableton versions. There's a Live 9 Lite, which has much less tracks. I think it can do like 16. We can do like 256 tracks with what we have, and the suite has a lot more audio instruments in it that we just don't use at this point. I think it has like unlimited tracks. So inside of Ableton, just to give you a brief overview of what it is and what it isn't, it's basically a way to produce multiple channels of audio at one particular point in time, and to be able to have those multiple channels of audio route to multiple outputs. That's what separates this from like a GarageBand. GarageBand can only send 2 outputs out, whereas Ableton Live can send as many outputs out as you have capability of producing through an interface. We use the arrangement view almost exclusively. What you see right here is called the session view. What we do looks a lot like this in an arrangement view. So to give you an idea of what it sort of looks like, how it kind of works for us, we typically download a music from a place called Multitracks.com. When Multitracks.com, when we download that file, it has an Ableton file in it, and I take a little bit of time to format it. And once we get through the process of formatting it, it winds up looking something like this. Just pick one kind of randomly. This is Can't Stop Your Love. And so what happens is, depending on what we have set up, what we don't have set up, you can control what output goes where. So right now, this is all set to go to the master. And because I don't have anything plugged in, it's only going to go to outputs 1 and 2. But what Ableton does is one of the things that makes it unique is that you can, what they call, warp audio. What warping is it lets me be able to not only change, like if I come down here and say I want this to be in a different key, I can take this file. You can see right here that it's already selected to warp. I can raise it up, and each ST stands for a semitone. So if it's currently in, and I forget what key this particular one is in, G. So if we wanted it to be in B flat, I'd raise it 1 semitone. If we wanted it to be in the key of B, it'd be raised 2 semitones. Anything much beyond about 5, it starts to sound really weird, but different than programs where you just transpose, like MP3 transposeme.com or some of those files where it sounds all funny like it's the Chipmunks or Barry White singing it. This actually keeps a lot of the same tonal qualities in place. So what we would typically get from multitracks.com is we would just get the click track, and this particular click track we normally don't use, we turn off. It sounds
1, 2, 1.
They all sound different.
3, 4.
And because they all sound different, it'll have that sound in one, it'll have a different sound in another. We typically add in, that's part of the formatting process, is we put our own click track in, and it just makes it completely universal. They're all the same sound, it all sounds the same volume, it all sounds the same in your ear, so it makes that a lot easier. But we'll get the click track, the guide track, and all of these, and they're called stems usually. Some of them have a lot, some of them have a little. Sometimes we use a lot, sometimes we don't use that much, depending on who we have playing, who we don't have playing. One of the things that the way that we currently have it set up is I keep all of the stems in on all of the files, and we can come back and select them and turn them on and off, depending on who shows up, who doesn't. Another way that people use this is they mix all of these down so that it's just, a stereo track of the stems. Everything's mixed down, and then there's a click track and there's a guide track. We don't do that just because we don't need to do that from an output standpoint, and 2, if at the last minute somebody doesn't show up, or somebody does show up and we need to turn their tracks off, I'd have to go through the whole process of kind of remixing everything. So that's kind of an overview. One of the things that makes Ableton a little bit more unique is the fact that you have a lot of capabilities as it relates to tempo. Because you have a lot of capabilities as it relates to tempo, you also have a lot of opportunities to really mess up a song if you get the tempo off. Songs that have tempo changes, that becomes an issue. Songs that it stops, slows down, like I'll give you an example here. Let's pull up a one that has one of those just so you can see what I'm saying. I'm going free I forget what it's called now, by Vertical Church Band, Jailbreak. For instance, in Jailbreak, when it goes to that spot, and we won't say that because we didn't want to mess with it, right at the end where it kind of, we'll switch back over to arrangement view. This is the spot where you can see this line here is set to map to song tempo. And when you gets to that point where it's
One, two, three. Down. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
as you can see, it goes through a pretty dramatic tempo step down and then a tempo step back up. And here we have to come through and type those things in ever so, meticulously. So that's where it can get a little bit challenging as it relates to working on some things inside of Ableton. But it gives us a great deal of flexibility with which to keep that same click track going, work through things all together. And in future videos, we'll kind of describe what some of those features are.